Good morning, Burbs, and welcome to Mary Academy. My name is Azalira, and we'll be going over today the basics of what an urgent quest is, as well as talk about exactly what Cradle of Darkness is and how you can utilize Cradle of Darkness to gain a lot of EXP, as well as get certain photon arts or skills that you may not get anywhere else in the PSO2 North American Beta, at least for now, since eventually everything's going to be common enough anyways. But it definitely does not hurt to know just to get a bit of a head start. So let's get right into it. So what is an urgent quest? An urgent quest, or as we call in the Japanese server, the emergency quest, they are very special time-gated quests, which is only active at a certain time, whether it be scheduling by SEGA themselves, or they actually do appear at random as well. So how do you know if urgent quests are going to start? Well, within the game itself, it's really obvious because it's kind of like a server-wide announcement, and if you happen to be at the lobby at that time, everything's just going to turn a little red and the lobby BGM itself will change into something pretty suspenseful, so you definitely cannot miss that. The problem with this is that in-game it only notifies you 15 minutes before the urgent quest actually does start. The urgent quest notification itself will also last throughout the entire duration of the quest as well, so the moment you logged on you might have already missed it. Now the question is, other than in the game itself, how do you actually know if there will be an urgent quest or not? How it works in PSO2 JP is we always have to go to SEGA's website every week to see the event schedule. In fact, we already have an event schedule for the beta of Phantasy Star Online 2 North America. As you can see on the screen, these are the timeframes in which the urgent quest is active. So you can only play these quests at these specific times only. Now with that said, as I've said at the beginning of the video, we're going to be focusing on the very first urgent quest of Phantasy Star Online 2 North America, which is Cradle of Darkness, starting the very first run at 8 PM Pacific Standard Time on February the 7th of 2020. Cradle of Darkness itself is an objective-based emergency quest, where you basically have to run around, fight enemies, do certain objectives, small objectives, and then get to the exit. And in your way between you and the exit is going to be a lot of enemies, whether it be mobs and bosses as well. It's a 2-area map with quite a bit of map hazards, but they're actually not as threatening as they look. I mean, take a look at this, right? They don't even do a lot of damage to begin with, and it also does damage as percentage health, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Although just do be mindful of it, because the damage can really stack up even though they don't do a lot or they don't do it as often as you might think. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the entire map and the enemies. All the enemies in Cradle of Darkness are the darker type enemies, which even though they share separate weaknesses, all of them have one weakness in common, which is the light element. Aside from certain rare enemies, which is not really a common thing, so you don't have to worry about that at all. So my recommendation, if you want the highest amount of damage possible, you want to bring light weapons, every one of you. And I don't mean light as in not heavy weapons, I mean weapons that have the light element or attribute, as the enemies will take bonus damage from your elemental bonuses, thus resulting in faster clears. Oh, and I should probably mention, you can actually run Cradle of Darkness an infinite amount of times within the 30-minute time frame that you have for the urgent quest. Which means if you party up with your friends or set a really strong party together, you can actually run Cradle of Darkness probably maybe 6 or 7 times even in the time frame of 30 minutes. That is, if all of you are insanely powerful at that point. I'd also like to remind you that each run actually does or should count towards the pre-registration bonus, so technically if you only manage to run 4 runs of Cradle of Darkness, you will be able to already receive all of the beta sign-up bonuses, as you have already cleared 4 urgent quests. Alright, so once you start the quest and you drop down from your camp ship, you're greeted with this teleporter area where it's kind of like a preparation area. Since the quest can host 12 people, if you're running on a public group, you'll be able to match with other players to help you clear the quest. Of course, it will also give better EXP on 12-man because a lot more enemies do spawn, so given the chance, always try to run it as a 12-man where possible. Because the amount of enemies spawned is directly correlated to how many players are actually in the quest. So if you're running in low man, you don't get as many enemies to kill, which means you have less EXP gained. And once someone starts a teleporter, there would be a 30-second interval before the quest actually starts itself. So everyone who might still be on the camp ship or just not prepared yet, you better be prepared and jump into the teleporter, otherwise you're gonna get left behind, and that's not cool. After you're teleported, you're greeted with this section with small enemy spawns. There's nothing really crazy or threatening at all, so all you need to do is just kill all the enemies and then press the switch to open the red laser barrier and move forwards to the next section. Now things get a little interesting when you reach this section. You're greeted with 2 emergency codes. Emergency codes are basically QuickTime events, although as of now I'm not entirely sure what they're going to be called on the North American server localization, but I'll be calling them emergency codes for the remainder of this video. Number 1 is there is a base that spawned on the map. What a base is that if you leave it up for too long, it will actually explode and make the whole map rain blood. Literally, making you take damage every second, and then you probably will eventually die if that happens. So don't take too long to get to the base, which is basically right at the end of the first map. And you can say that this is your primary objective for the very first map. So the second code that is spawned is an attack code. This is nothing special because it just says that, oh, you have to defeat specific enemies, so you defeat those and then you move on to the next section. Looking at the map alone, it's easy to say that, hey, can't you just run over to the base and not go through it the long way? Well, the path is blocked, so you kinda can't do that. Now the third section is where things can get a little hectic because you get a code where the enemy gel wolves will spawn. These are enemies that are very specific because they cannot be attacked by any means other than a very specific photon cannon, which 3 will spawn in that area. The reason why I say it gets a little hectic because you have to watch carefully who the gel wolf is actually targeting. If you're not careful here, some people can actually lead gel wolves way out of the distance or the area of the photon cannon's attacks, meaning you'd be wasting a lot of time in that section because the gel wolves just literally won't die. So make sure to keep an eye out on who the gel wolves are actually targeting, and then lure them to a position where the photon cannons can actually shoot them properly. Also, try not to fight over cannons. I know everyone wants to shoot them because they're cool and everything, but their whole purpose is literally only to kill the gel wolves. They don't actually do that much damage, and they take quite a while to wind up, so be sure to also cover the guy on the photon cannon as well. Unless they have skills that give them super armor and cannot be knocked back, then that's completely fine. So once you get through the first 3 sections of the first area, it's pretty smooth sailing from here, because from here on, it's more or less just a straight path to the base, where you just have to kill some enemies and then there you go, you're at the base. So you kill the base, and what happens? Oh no, a giant enemy boss giant turtle spawned. It's a Zeshrada. The fastest way to kill Zesh is to break his legs, knock him over to his back by actually just doing some more damage. Once you broke his leg, he'll lose balance and then fall over on his belly, and then it will expose his core, which is on his chest. You have to jump up there, target the core, and just wail on him until he's dead. If he doesn't die, break the other leg, make him fall again, and target the core once again. If it does get longer than that though, just keep in mind to just keep attacking his head and you will be fine. And that is basically the entirety of the first area. So now you're ready to move on to area number 2. Now area 2 focuses a lot more on bossing, except with one additional hazard. At the beginning of the area, you will see an ARC's camp ship come in to assist you, but then it gets infected by the darker virus, so instead it will just shoot missiles and barrages at you, so please be careful. While each individual barrage might not do that much damage, but they can be really annoying. Although, considering that you might be a little more lower level here, they might do quite a bit of damage. I can't exactly tell, but just be careful anyways because they will knock you over and you can literally just get locked in a loop over and over again because enemies just will keep attacking you non-stop. So now you come to this open area and meet the first set of your bosses. First, we have the Guanada, which is an enemy in the ground with giant pincers. Guanada is actually not hard to take down at all. All you have to do, really, is just kill the tentacles that spawns from the ground, and then once you kill all his tentacles, he'll flip over and then expose his giant red belly, which is the weak spot. So you wail on him until he dies. If he doesn't die, he'll spawn new sets of tentacles, and then you just do the same thing all over again. Really simple. One quick tip for Guanada is, once he starts doing his sucky attack, All you have to do is make one person volunteer to get caught by his pincers. Once he gets caught, he'll do this really long animation and do massive damage to that one person. However, all his tentacles will be exposed. So meaning if you kill all the tentacles before he finishes his attack animation, he'll just knock over, and then you have his weak spot open for basically at no cost at all. Except the person who got grabbed, but the damage only applies once the animation finishes, so you have quite a while. Now the second boss that spawned with Guanata is a giant jumpy looking mantis thing called Dark Ragne. Ragne is one of the most simple bosses in the game because all you have to do is break his legs and then he will fall over. And you can do this exactly 4 times because he has 4 legs. And then his weak spot is right behind his neck. Normally his weak spot is easily accessible by classes that can stay in the air easily, or ranged classes per se. So you actually don't even need to go for his leg if you don't want to. But doing that, it just makes it a little easier, and he also doesn't jump around or attack you, so why not, right? After Ragne and Guanata are down, you come into this next section, which you have your second set of bosses, which include a single Falls Arm, as opposed to 4 that you will see in the Raging Dark Arms Urgent quest. And he is also there with Dark Falls Persona, which is also known by another name of Purple Sword Easy Guy, because, well, both of these bosses don't really do anything too much. Falls Arms is more or less a walking weak spot. You see that giant red spot at the back of the hand? It's just, yeah, that just hit that and you'll be fine. And he takes a lot of damage too. And then Dark Falls Persona does not have any particular weak spot or anything per se, but just wail on him and he'll eventually die. So yeah. Once you're done with that, head straight north and destroy the aircraft control crystal, and then boom! Cradle of Darkness is complete. And now you just have to run it again until the emergency quest time is over. So now that you have the knowledge of exactly what to do in this quest, I'm pretty sure you can definitely prepare yourself for this quest so you can actually get as many clears as possible, so you can get really high amounts of EXP with your friends. And now we get into a little bit more of the fun part in the video, and probably what a lot of people might be here for, the drops. Now, Cradle of Darkness itself does not actually provide any particular special drop at all until you reach level 40 and run it on the very hard difficulty. The very hard difficulty is the threshold in which rare enemies start to spawn. I did mention quite a bit earlier in the video that there are certain rare enemies, but yeah, they only spawn at the very hard difficulty or higher at a random chance. Although given that the chance is pretty high because it is the entire Darker Den, so you should not have a lot of problems finding the rare enemies. What the rare enemies are is they look exactly the same as the normal Darkers, except their whole skin is red. These specific enemies, and bosses as well, will drop very specific discs, which then you can learn very specific photon arts that are almost exclusive to that boss alone. At least until the X-Cube shop is available for all you guys. Which for the NA server early game, you're not going to have access to that easily, so it's best for you to actually farm those PAs, or photon arts. So let's take a look quickly at what exactly drops and from what. The Dagon Nero, or the rare version of the Dagon, drops a disc for Cerberus Dance, a wired lance photon art. The Predicata Nero, or the rare version of the Predicata, drops Bloody Saraban, which is a twin dagger photon art. The Mimikta, or the rare version of the Mikta, drops Infinite Fire, and Infinite Fire is a very pivotal photon art for any gunner player, so this is very important. As well as the next one, which is the Dagash Nero, which is the rare version of the Dagash, also drops Heal Stab, which helps with mobbing for gunner a lot in the early levels before you're level 85. Now onto the bosses. Guanata Nero, or the rare version of Guanata, drops Samagid, which is a dark tech, for Force players and any caster class alike. Dark Agrani is the rare version of Dark Ragne and drops 2 rare PAs, which is Orchestra for the Twin Daggers and Elder Rebellion for the twin machine guns. Lastly, we have Rig Shreda, which is the rare version of the Zeshreda. It drops over N for the sword, as well as Crazy Smash for the launcher. What is listed are basically core photon arts for those respective classes, so it is very important for the future to be mindful of all of these. You can also sell all of these on the player shops as well, so consider keeping all of these even though you're not going to use them, because even if you don't, they can benefit another player greatly. Whew! And we're done. That is everything you need to know about the Cradle of Darkness Urgent Quest. Now you can plan ahead of time because now you know exactly what Cradle of Darkness is, how to clear it and do it efficiently, and what important drops there are. So make your plans with your friends since we also know exactly when the quests are gonna drop, as we have the Urgent Quest schedule already on the Xbox website itself. Overall, the video turned out to be just a tiny bit longer than I expected, but as long as you know what to do now and you found the information useful, then that's perfect. Exactly everything I could have asked for. So if you do have any questions or comments, please do not be afraid to leave a comment down below. I'll try my best to get back to it as soon as possible. And also, of course, come join my Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description below as well as on the screen. It's the best way you can obtain information fast, and then you can also ask people if you need any help with anything as well. So with that, burbs, thank you very much for watching this video. I'll still keep doing my best to provide as many guides as possible leading up to the release of the North American release for Phantasy Star Online 2, so we'll see what happens from here. Once again, take care everyone, and don't forget to smile! I'll see all of you again soon. Have a great one!